All right, we're all set. Good evening, welcome to the Georgetown School Committee meeting for Thursday, April 11th, 2013. First item is the consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes from the special session of March 28th, the regular session of March 28th, public relations on March 22nd, acceptance of warrants 48V13 and 40P13.
I second.
Any further discussion? We need,
We
need a motion first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
We
that
need a
was
motion first.
Sorry.
And a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, student rep Cole.
Hi.
really
Well, the first thing I wanted to talk about was middle school play and how that went off like without a hitch. It was awesome. I'm so proud of all the kids that put so much effort into it, and it was just a month. They did it all in just a month, and I'm
your
really
guidance.
happy. What?
With your guidance and help and
Yeah, I
support,
know,
and Bill
it was-
Klaka and a lot of other
Yeah.
high school students. Yes.
Yeah. No, I was really happy with that. We also just had a student recital last night, which was really good. I didn't realize how many talented kids we had in the school. Very, very musically talented. And I'm not sure how sports teams are doing. I'm pretty sure boys lacrosse is either 2-1 or 3-0 to have a very good start to their season. Track, we just had a meet today, and I left early, but I'm pretty sure we won too. So that was good. We're doing really well. And
Baseball had opening day last week. I don't
They
know
did. They
how
had
they
opening
did.
day, and they had a
ring
nice, a
ceremony?
really nice little ceremony beforehand, where they got their banner. The captains were awarded the banner, which is going to obviously go into the gym, and it was really nice because apparently the GAA teams that had won their various divisions, I guess it's all done by age.
Right.
They all came to the game, and then before the Georgetown team was introduced, they all, took the field to whatever position they play. So it was really very nice to have the young kids, involved in the opening day ceremony. So it was all very, very nice. It was a gorgeous day too for baseball.
There was an article in the newspaper today about the girls softball,
okay.
showing a lot of promise for the season. They're all excited about that.
That's great.
So.
That's really great.
Good things. Okay. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to comment on anything that's on the agenda tonight? Okay. Okay. Next up is. Do you want to do the under administrative reports?
Sure.
Do you want to do the
Well,
fine?
Do you want to? One of the very exciting things that we get to do at school committee meetings often is to recognize some outstanding achievements of some of our very talented students. Sometimes those recognitions are athletic related, sometimes they're academically related, other times they're arts related, and that's what we're going to do tonight. I received some information from Miss Dodge, who's also here today, letting me know that I think for the first time ever, we have a student who placed at the national level in a national award. And in your, I think, Martha, you sent this along, right? Yeah. In your, very artistically done, by the way, Ms. Dodge put together for your information just an overview of all the students who participated at the state art competitions. Every year we have children who go and place well.
All those students placed.
Yes.
We had more that participated, but
Okay.
those are the winners.
Okay.
On the pamphlet.
Okay, wonderful.
That's terrific.
And so tonight we have Hannah here, right? Yeah. And you see at the top, it's unfortunately because it's black and white. Even though it's black and white art, it probably doesn't do justice at all to the wonderful piece of artwork. But she was recognized as a senior key winner at the national level and the gold key winner at the state level. And that's very, very awesome and hard to do. So congratulations to you. What was that experience like for you?
I was completely shocked. It started off as just a school assignment, and I asked Mrs. Dodge if I could do an effect called the saboteur, which gives it that shiny effect around it. Mm-hmm. And she goes, Hannah, that's awesome. Like, you should submit it for a Scholastic Art Award. So I just did, and it was this huge surprise to me.
So she knows what people like in those competitions. Yeah. Well, we're very proud of you, and congratulations to you and your family. And I know our school is very proud. And I'm sure a lot of your work will be displayed at the art show.
Yeah.
Yes. So I want to. Is that been scheduled, Martha? What
Yeah, I
is
believe
the
it's
date?
May 21st.
Okay. It's really worth coming. It's very nicely done. The whole, foyer and the halls around the gym and cafeteria area are all just displayed with wonderful pieces of art of all different mediums.
And there's a film festival.
And then
too.
there's the film festival, which is really fun because that's audience participation,
And
right?
new this year, it'll be the first year we're inducting our National Art Honor Society members too.
Great.
We're adding more to the ceremony.
Right, and it really is nice. I mean, it's very informal. You kind of walk
Yes,
around
yes.
and just enjoy, and the artists are there. But there's always in the cafeteria area, there's always a sort of a display of all the different kinds of art from the seniors,
Yes.
specifically focusing on the seniors and their art. So as opposed to just kind of being on the walls, in sort of arrays, this is like a real portfolio, so to speak. And if you want to come and see not only this piece but other pieces by Hannah, and I just think we should, just for the benefit of the public that's not having the chance to see this, Courtney Tanner, also a senior, received a gold key winner at the state level for cardboard sculpture, which was, I guess, independent art is the category. Is that, yeah. And Nick Memelet, also a senior, for action photography. I know he's always in the film festival. I see things that he does. Silver key winner at the state level, and then there were 7 honorable mentions. Cloth drawing. So Courtney Tanner had looks like 3 pieces that received honorable mention, and Nick had another piece of photography. It received honorable mention, and then Alex Grenier, who's an 11th grader, and Tatiana Memelet, sister of Nick, runs in the family apparently. Grade 10 for some ceramics, and Gemini Hoffman for some ceramics. So it's just nice to see that our art program, well, it's very popular every year, in terms of subscriptions of kids who take the classes. But we also are very successful in having students who go on out of our high school into art programs and art schools, and are very successful there as well. So
Is there art in your
kudos.
future, Hannah?
I'm going into a communications field, not really art,
But
but
very
it's media
creative.
communications. Yeah,
That's exactly creative.
Very creative.
Of all the art mediums, what's your favorite?
Photography.
You like photography,
Yeah.
and that's a skill for life.
And I like painting. I'm not very good.
Well, that's probably your interpretation. You'd probably be very impressed.
I'm sure.
Maybe it
that could be a
doesn't-
skill for life too. But congratulations. It's
Thank you.
very, very exciting.
Thanks.
Great.
Anna, what was that technique you used?
The saboteur.
Why did you want to use it?
Because we did it for a previous project, and I just liked how shiny and mysterious it looked. So it was actually a picture of Maddie Credo, who's actually a student at our school, and she was running down the hallway, and it was an action photo, but you couldn't tell with the effect, and I just thought it looked so spooky and different, so that's why I wanted to do it.
Oh, very cool.
And that's one of the things they look for at the Boston Globe Scholastic Art Awards is just not skill and technique, that's a part of it, but it's also personal voice and a student's vision. So they look for things that may be a little different, because I know some people will look at the winning piece and make negative comments about it. Well, that's not pretty. That's not beautiful. Well, it doesn't have
To be.
Yes. In what she said, it is. If you actually see it in black and white, it is eerie and creepy, and it has a surreal look, which is great.
Yeah. People say it would be like
It sounds like from what I can see, that it opened a door to a mystery.
people say it looks like a cover of like a horror book.
Oh.
Yes.
There's, for the art department, there's no higher calling as far as I'm concerned. than the
Thank you.
search. And so, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So could you tell us again, the art show is what time?
It's 6 to 8.
6 to 8. And it is a drop-in, you don't have to be there the whole time. But it really is a wonderful opportunity. Just like I wrote to you in here, the Fine Arts Week at Pembroke was, and many of you I saw there, so I know people participated, but it's just arts are important to all the time, but when you take time to really recognize and celebrate, the talents of students, some students that are not as gifted academically really excel artistically, and some kids are good at everything. But, it's just really nice to see the creative outlets be part of, arts and education. It is a discipline, and it is as important as academics, to the overall whole child. So, thank you for making the time to come here tonight, and congratulations on your awards. And to all of the students, not only those that received awards, but just to participate says a lot, about it. It's hard to put yourself out there. You have to be creative but courageous, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well done.
Good luck next year.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you,
Very
Martha.
welcome.
Keep us in the loop on anything like that. So we'd love to recognize the students.
Thank you.
It's one of the best parts of these meetings.
It really is. Sure.
Okay, so we talked about Fine Arts Week.
Yes.
Turf project update.
Okay, turf project update. So, I know Barbie isn't here tonight, and I knew she wasn't going to be here. So, one of the things that we've kind of all agreed is that as there are sort of milestones in some of these projects, we would come back and let the committee know kind of what's happened. So, a couple of things. The CPC, I think you knew, voted to approve the warrant article, to put a warrant article. They had 9 projects out of a number of projects that were sent into them. There was a lot of really good discussion, and at the end of the day, there is going to be a warrant article on the town meeting warrant that asks the town to approve $250,000 of CPC money that is in their current accounts. And at the same time, there'd be a not to exceed $1 million bond that the town would take. I think the discussion still is how many years, because they want to make sure that the allocation of CPC money that can be used for open space and recreation is not completely expended as a result of this project, because there are still needs in the town. This doesn't affect the, there's always going to be a standard allocation for projects that fall into affordable housing and fall into, what's the other one? There's another category, historic preservation and restoration, thank you. And then there's this category, open space and recreation. And so this is the first time that a bond would be taken out. The main discussion had to do with, there seemed to be strong support of the project. The 2 votes that were against were not the project, I did not get the sense. They were the funding of the project. So there was agreement that there should be some money this year for CPC, money that would allow the final design, would allow the bidding, permitting, all those kind of things to go through, and then come back next year to the voters and ask for the bond. There was some fear and concern about if the 2 weren't tied together, that there may not be as much support for the project, because you don't know how things change within a year. So at the end of the day, the vote went 3-2 to do both, and just make the commitment to the project, and then from there, obviously block it out in ways that the town can both afford, and that it doesn't completely deplete, the opportunity for maybe some other projects. So there was a public hearing. All of the projects that got approved by CPC, there was a public hearing that happened recently, and the goal was for each group that put the proposal in, to do a little quick synopsis of their project. It was all televised, and so that's great. So the public had a chance to see that. And then anybody in the audience, as well as CPC members, could ask any questions. So it actually generated, I think, a nice, productive, lively conversation. And some of the questions that were raised there were clearly questions that I know will come up at town meeting. So it was really a good opportunity. The gentleman from Gale Associates was there, so he was very helpful in being able to speak to, the elements of the project. And then John Pingree and Mark Perry presented the slideshow that I put in here for your information. I also did include the proposal. So the last STAC, that's what we call ourselves, Synthetic Turf Advisory Committee. The STAC committee, at the last STAC committee meeting, there was discussion as to the first phase of the project. That actually is the phase that goes all the way through the development of construction documents. The STAC committee, under the advice that they received from some members of the town administration in terms of the process, was that the design and consultation part of the process, which is the engineering study stuff, municipalities are not required, that is not subject to public bid. You don't have to do a public bid. Having said that, and this is Mike Farrell actually gave me this information because I had to research it, was that an engineering firm that can be awarded a contract to develop the design, to produce the schematic design documents, do the whole process all the way up until after the construction documents are completed. Then it gets turned over to Mike Farrell, because Mike is the chief procurement officer for the town. In fact, Joan and I had that conversation one day with him. So Mike would then take all of those documents, make sure it would then be subject to the public bid law. So he would take all those documents, he would get it all out, all the time frames that you had to pay attention to and all that. He would award the bids, and then on we go. I think the reason that the STAC committee, because they did discuss the idea of, what should we do, what should be done in this first stage of the process. And I think the reason that the decision was made to go with Gale, number one, they have put in, I think those of you who've heard different presentations have seen that they have done a lot of turf fields. In fact, they did one at Dartmouth, they did at Roger Williams, they've done a lot of turf fields across the state. So the first assumption was they know what they're doing, they're qualified to do it. Number two was that they have been working on this project, in various capacities for probably the better part of 4 years. So, they did some initial documentation, they put some things together, they've, reported on this, answered questions at various forums. They know the site, they know the players, they know, they think they know the community. And so, they're obviously they were very interested in continuing this. And I think the folks who'd been working with them felt some confidence that they would be the group to move forward with this project in this first phase, understanding, of course, that the bidding process would take place after that. So I just wanted you to, number one, I wanted you to see the proposal. And partly I wanted Rob to have a chance to, because in particular I know he's got a lot of interest and curiosity about it because of your background and what you do for work. So I know the committee has asked in the past, can we be in the loop? So that's why I wanted you to be in the loop. These were documents that were out to other boards. You should have them. And I didn't really put it on for a huge discussion item. I just wanted to give you an update more than anything else. Of course, certainly if people want to discuss it, we can do that. But, it really was an update. I didn't bring, the staff committee or Gail or anybody else here for it. It just was really, my intention was to give you an update and answer any questions that you might have. If there are specific questions that you have, I'd be more than happy to take them down, get information, and get back to anyone on this.
We should, you know how we have Ellie and Michelle come?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thrilled that we have this information, but we should find out what their what the stack timeline is and have them come, and again, just a recommendation, every couple months,
Well,
or once they hit milestones.
Yes, well,
Just to give an overview,
obviously, the thing I should emphasize is this proposal that's in here. None of that happens unless the town meeting says yay to it.
Right.
So, obviously, again, the gentleman from Gale came the other night to help answer any questions, but he did that basically gratis, understanding he wasn't gonna be paid, and he understands that this proposal, if executed, there's no guarantee, obviously, if the town does not approve the turf project going forward. So it's really just for us, it's a scope of work, and I wanted you to see what kinds of process would be followed. So yes, I think that's fair, and if this project, passes
after town meeting, if it goes,
then absolutely, just as we do with the building committee, we, on whatever, your wishes in terms of how often, we will definitely, have regular reports, and then, of course, Barbie, just as you always report each month, Barbie can also do that. And remember, I just remind people, they're public meetings. And if at any point, anybody wants to come or attend, you would be welcome, and your input would be, considered. All
So
right.
if I could just comment on that item, just share my observation as more than just my interest. This is exactly the work that I do. My observation is that I'm very disappointed that they did not engage any other firms for an interview. I think it's fair to say the industry standard for these kinds of projects, you typically go through an RFP, RFQ, request for proposal, request for qualification. It's typical in the industry, and it's understood in the industry, that you work like this pro bono in hopes of getting an opportunity to bid on a project. So I definitely appreciate the long history they have with Gale, but my experience tells me it's not necessarily the best way to get the best price or to get the best product for the town. And as I know we're all school committee members and care about the school and the facilities, I just wanted you all to know that.
Okay.
all right. Yeah.
Just curiously, at this point, given that,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that can be done?
About what?
Well, this has already been agreed to? Right?
No, well,
Yeah.
my understanding is that there's been a discussion with the Gale gentleman.
Okay.
And I think there's an assumption that it's going to be executed.
Okay.
Now, you're asking, is there anything that can be done? At this point in time, I think they're planning to move forward, but I think, Rob makes a point, it certainly, I would invite Rob and anyone else, if they want to make that, if they're concerned about that, they should come to the next stack meeting and express it with the group that's,
That's the group that would affect.
Sure.
Considering
and is there
it,
a meeting before the town meeting?
I think that there isn't a
Just
meeting
one
scheduled.
person at a time. I'm
Oh,
here.
sorry, I thought I was answering
Rob,
that
do you want
question.
to?
No, I was just gonna say, there are only so many meetings you can go to, that's the problem.
Right, but we
That's the
have,
problem.
we had,
I have been sharing with people to share at the meetings, and so I've been
But-
doing my job,
Okay,
is
good,
getting
yeah,
information
good,
there.
good, that's,
Right.
that's helpful.
that's, yeah, because we have Barbie, who's our rep. She's one of 7 voting members. I don't know how many.
There's-
She's one voting.
There are
one
7
of the-
voting members, yes. But, I think also, John Pingree is the chair of the committee. I'm sure, he'd be happy to have a discussion, at least to share the process and why he feels strongly with the process that they're going for. And maybe, if there was further discussion as to, the industry standards, maybe, I know he did consult, before he brought that to the stack committee, he did consult with, at least 2 that I know of. I don't want to share names on TV, but with 2 people that have extensive experience with this, and that's why he went with, certainly if the industry standard or the recommendation or the
Do you wanna
need
say something?
was to go through that process. My understanding from Mike in my conversation with him this afternoon is that municipalities are not required in the design and consultation phase is not required in it's a good idea are two different things. I understand that, but I'm just speaking to the requirement.
And that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And my disappointment is not a reflection of that I'm against the turf field
No,
as a
no.
project. It's nothing more than what I said
It's
it was.
the process. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll definitely bring that up, Rob.
And you've made that clear with John and Mike?
I have an email into them and waiting to hear from them. And
Good.
I had talked with committee members and shared this with them well before they made this decision, so my
Oh.
concerns were expressed.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
Great, thanks. Okay. School report. Superintendent's information for the committee. Any questions on that? Okay. Special education evaluation contract.
Yes, in your orange notes, I had mentioned that in our strategic plan, one of the things that we've been talking about as we've been doing all this work on redesign of internal special education programs, that it's one thing for Donna as the new special education director to evaluate the programs, which she's done and is continuing to do. But it's always a good idea to have external folks come in and take a look at your practices and your business practices. We do have coordinated program reviews every 6 years. In fact, we have one next year. It's kind of it's a check. I don't call it a check-in, but there were some things that we had to work on. We fixed them. They were satisfied, but now they want to come back and just make sure, in fact, that they're kind of institutionalized. But this is different. This is actually looking at experts in the field that do this business of evaluating programs, against standards and laws and best practices. And so Donna had some recommendations from a few of her colleagues. We did, I think Joan and I and Nana reviewed two in particular that submitted. One is the one we selected. And this one, we feel it describes in detail exactly what we're looking for, the products that we're looking for, deliverables, and then the cost is right in the ballpark of what we expected it to
And
cost.
we budgeted for it.
And we budgeted for it in a grant. So
Okay.
it doesn't hit the budget, but whenever we execute contract like this, I want the committee to know that we're doing it, because it's external stuff too.
We've done this before, haven't we?
I don't think in my time,
Not to this
not in my
extent.
time, I don't think we've done something of this to this extent. We have had evaluations done
That's-
before, but that's the CPR.
Okay,
That's a little
what
different.
I'm thinking. Okay.
And then, I did explain just for the newer members that contracts, if there's certain contracts, most contracts, we are authorized to sign on behalf of the district. And generally, I let you know if there are contracts that, you should know about. But if it's a multi-year contract, and we have had a couple of those, like technology leases, things like that the committee has committed money to, those must be signed and approved by the school committee. Okay. So if there are any questions about this, Donna, is the one who was dealing with it. I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any.
I think it's great that we're doing it. Thank you for pulling it together.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I'll be seeking a person or two from the school committee who would like to participate in some of the interview process, so.
Oh, great.
let me know.
What about time frame,
happy to
Donna?
do that.
What about time frame, Donna?
The interviews will take place, I'm trying to think now, I believe the dates were March 9th and 10th, May 9th and 10th.
May 9th and 10th.
And when would there be perhaps a document for all of us to review?
Probably by the end of the school year, but the process is going to begin at the end of the month. So the first step in the process is going to be a comprehensive document review, which will include IEPs that we have from all of the different levels, evaluations, the assessment of, paraprofessional schedules, related service schedules, an assessment of the descriptions of our programs, looking at the service delivery models, all of those different pieces. So that's going to be the step one. Second step is going to be to do walkthroughs through the school, which will include taking a look at the different programs, seeing the function of those programs. Then the interviews will commence, and we're looking at all of the stakeholders within the district, which includes school committee people, students that are involved in individual education plans, general education teachers, special education teachers, paraprofessionals, parents, principals, everybody to gather the comprehensive information. Also, a comparison of other similar districts will be done about the cost, the programs, the percentages of students who are identified, the percentage of where they're identified. So we'll have a complete analysis and a comprehensive report. What I'm really pleased about is the individual in particular who will be looking at Georgetown was himself a superintendent and a director of special education as well as a special education teacher. So he really has a good comprehensive understanding of the format. So I think that that's a fortunate part as well. So after that, it'll probably be, I would guess, sometime in June, mid-June, that we'll have the final report that we can analyze. And, you know, certainly Carol and I can present those findings to you.
How will like, for example, if parents are listening to this and they might say, oh, I'd be interested in that. What's the process for letting someone know they might like to be part of this? Or do you just do a random lottery? How do we decide on that?
What I'm going to look at is selecting parents from the different schools and as well as from the different areas that their students might be participating in with regard to special education, and then sending some letters out based on the criteria that they'll meet. So we have a nice cross-section across the district.
And it's interesting because sometimes I know in different areas of consulting, they actually won't let you do the choosing. They'll go through your files and say, I would like to see.
Yeah, that's my
especially when it comes to students and parents.
Right.
They might, go through all of your files and say, would like this student, and then this student, and then these
When I was
parents.
a Title I director, that's what they did. They came in and said, here's your 30 students. I'm just this, and you had to go get their records and their parents. Yep. So, yeah. Okay.
And no matter how they do it, it'll be a great work product. I'm
Yes,
sure
it
when
will.
we get done.
And thank you, Donna, for taking the lead on that.
I'm excited to see the results.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, moving right along to the Pearly renovation update.
That's you, Don. That's you, Joan.
I gave the committee a memo of where we are right now. I haven't heard back from the firm that I was directed to by David Hart. He was the one that had done the original study for the town. I attached, you probably had seen it.
Yeah,
It's really small. I had not seen it before. It was really small, but at least it gives you an idea of the areas that we'd be looking to repair or replace with this project. So, perhaps we may have to go out and do an RFP to get design services because I reached out to this firm and I haven't heard back yet. So, Mike, if that's the case, Mike Farrell will have to take the lead on that. I haven't been certified yet to write those bid specs. So
the goal is to get the work done
Get it
this
done
summer
this
because
summer.
last thing we want is a roof project in the middle of the fall.
Right.
Although I question it because Margaret was concerned about anything we have going on there this summer or whatever, and Mike Anderson and and I walked the building and he felt that it wouldn't inhibit. It wasn't like last year's project. Last year's project
was
huge.
the whole back of the building, and this the preschool concerns itself with just that preschool wing. And I know, Donna, you're using some spaces there too, right? But a lot of the work will be done in the front of the building, so we can deal with the staging at their trucks and things in the front where we park. We'll park somewhere else.
Right. So I'll keep you up to date as I know anything.
Thank you.
Great.
All right, town warrant articles.
Yes, I just wanted to point out, just so you know, that in this document, this is a sneak preview, because there still were some decisions and discussions that were being had. But I just wanted you to know that there were 3 projects, capital projects, paid out of that capital fund that they established last year, that were going to be addressing school matters. The intercom system, which we identified as a safety issue, we use it as a central thing for our Code Blue. And now they're not doing anything at Pembroke because of the upcoming redo of the school. But this would be for Pearly and the middle high school. And Peter, I think, how old is the intercom system that you have? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure it's original to the building.
Yeah.
Just a year or two.
So
we did a software upgrade on it probably like 3 years ago, but you can only do so much with the hardware.
Yeah, we really have it's not functioning often, and it's a problem. So got that.
Yeah.
And then the other was the replacement of the handicap ramp. If you've
Yep.
been there lately, I mean, that's just a safety hazard, and it really
And the
is.
HVAC.
And the HVAC, I think initially there was some reservation about it. They thought maybe it was just the air conditioning, but it really is the air heating and air conditioning. So in this,
Well, it's the air handler,
it's
right?
the air handler.
So it's both.
Yeah, it's both. And I
Right.
know Peter can tell you that Laura LaFlemme has classes in there, and they were often wearing their coats, for class because it's just it's cold in there. So we're very grateful and excited, and hopefully the voters will see fit to support this. One of the questions, though, that I should just point out, and I did come up at the meeting, so I just want to, kind of say it for the committee, and that is that I think there was a lot of support for the intercom, but maybe not for the other two projects, because there was some thinking about, well, if we do renovations, the town appropriates money for renovations, these could be done as part of that renovation. But the renovation project at the middle high school, if you recall, is going to be very specific things. There were actually, so it's not like we can throw a lot of new things into that. And because these things can't really wait 2 and 3 years, I think the FinCom agreed when we presented that, if the money is in the capital fund, we should at least bring it forward
The renovation
to the town.
projects are to reconfigure the school to be appropriate for the 5 grades.
Yes, and
versus
yes,
repairs
Exactly.
Yes.
like this.
Right. And
Right.
one of the questions that also came up is why do we need the new HVAC unit after we did the EDSCO grant?
That's
and when
right.
they went through the EDSCO evaluation of all of our facilities and our systems, they wouldn't pick this up because it couldn't be repaired to a point where it would operate efficiently.
And they didn't see the return.
no
They didn't
return.
see the return. But it's a core. I mean, how often is that auditorium used? Like for every
town.
All
town,
the
every
time.
town,
It's town meeting.
event that we need, and as well as it is a teaching station. That's one of the things in NEASC had cited us on, is that we have our choral music program on the stage. So that's in this middle high school renovation project, that would be something that would be addressed and taken care of, so that would no longer be necessary.
And have we heard about our budget yet?
We have not heard officially about our budget, but my understanding, kind of unofficially, is at this point in time, our budget request as it was made is what is included in the budget. Sandy Garrity, who's chair of the FinCom, and actually, Mike Farrell, we talked about, I asked them about it, and they said that they didn't anticipate we would need to make any cuts. So, again,
so
that's-
just as a matter of housekeeping, Rob, you will have to present the warrant articles at town meeting because I won't be on the committee anymore, and you will be vice chair. So, just so that you know.
So Mike Farrell, not Mike Farrell, but the other Mike Anderson would be there to be able to provide some background information. Should anybody from I'll be there. Joan will be there, but
Yeah.
Mike will be there
Everyone
as the
will be there.
facilities director, so he'll be able to answer any questions regarding the actual projects themselves.
And these articles that you were talking about don't have numbers yet?
No, that's why I
No.
said you got the sneak preview.
So, okay.
There still was work to do
Yeah.
on some language developments and all of those things.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Subcommittee reports. Budget and finance. I'm gonna guess nothing.
Nothing yet.
Governance.
Governance, we had a governance meeting at the end of March, and it was regarding the head lice policy.
Which you will see in
We're
your
gonna see that
next
next.
packet for
Okay.
distribution.
Okay.
So that's one of those you have to go through the 3 meetings.
Okay. Negotiating. We have executive
We do.
session for that. Public relations.
We had a public relations meeting last week, and we were discussing, we were looking about how we could make good use of the service constant contact as a means of email marketing, to get in touch with people in the community.
Yeah, we're sort of still exploring what the different kinds of things we might
that could
consider,
possibly-
and then I think we'll need to pick a few because we probably can't do everything.
Right, but it's a very useful service.
Mhm.
You know, at the beginning of the school year, there was a PTA meeting, and I know, you know, the PTA president sends out that PTA blink.
Yeah.
And the way that works, it goes to all the room parents, and then the room parents send it to their class, and there was discussion about consolidating that into a single list. And somebody mentioned a service.
Constant contact?
It wasn't constant contact, because that was one I was familiar with, and the one they mentioned I wasn't familiar with, but it might they ended up not using it. I don't think they could get anybody to coordinate that many
Yeah, that's
email
what happens
addresses,
sometimes,
but it might have been free. I know
Oh,
constant contact is not free, so I would contact the PTA,
Yeah.
Jennifer Greenfield, and
Yeah.
see if I'm remembering this correctly, and if there's a name of a service like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Great.
worse, well, it's worth, you know,
Or at least
Constant
free
contact is
initially, and then you
pretty
never know what
minimal.
comes
Right,
on
but
after,
all of,
right?
like, you know, there's so many
worthwhile to
different-
compare the
there's
the
different
services.
now.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
MailChimp is free for a while, and then or
Yes.
up to a certain number of people, and, you know, all of them. So it's worth comparing.
Yeah, I'll
Right.
definitely,
There's
yeah.
there's multiple different.
Safety. There was a meeting today.
There
We had a
was.
meeting today, yes. And we discussed, what did we discuss? Bus safety, fire drills that are coming up, and staff IDs. After April vacation, staff will be wearing IDs on lanyards.
So we all have these things, these little what do we call them?
ID
Yes,
badges.
ID. Thank you, ID badges. But they're obviously an ID, but they also get you into the door. So like when I come up to the door at Pearly, I just put this up and it lets me in. I don't have to bother the door person. Mike Anderson has all of these, you know, programmed, and different people are programmed for different times. Like I'm programmed for any time in any building, but others may be programmed just for the school day through 3 o'clock. But we are, as part of our security process, we are asking everyone to wear these. So now Mike went around and took everybody's picture that didn't have an ID, that was done through the school picture companies, and you know, we're getting a lot of good positive feedback on these, and you know, to me they're very helpful. In fact, you know, if you use it the way it's supposed to be, you don't set the alarm off and get the police to come, which I have done twice now. But I think I've gotten myself acclimated as to what the mistakes are that I was making, so I won't do them anymore. But they are very, very convenient just to be able to come and not have to fumble around with keys, and we can keep track of them better. Everything is cataloged and organized, and Mike has that all taken care of. He works with Joan on it.
We bought a new software program so that if Carol lost her badge, she just has to let Mike know, and he deactivates the card. So if somebody found her card, they couldn't get into the building.
And you wouldn't if you saw this, you wouldn't necessarily think it's a fob. You'd think it's just an ID, right? But you know, that certainly is a helpful safety technique. Plus, when we hire someone new now, they have it all set up in Laura's newly refurbished office. They can have it set up where or they're going to do it in Mike's office. I'm not quite sure, but they can actually take the picture of the new employee right then, and then take care
Yeah,
of
you can
this
do
in
it right
one
through the
fell swoop.
software. You can just do it through your computer, and then you can type the name and then give it and then Mike can program the access code to what building it is, and we're very high tech now.
Oh yeah. Now if we could just get it software so we don't have to fill out conference records in triplicate,
I'm sure we
we'd be
can do
all
that.
set. We'd be all set.
Down
But
the
yeah,
road.
but the safety, you know, it's that safety group. I have to say, you know, the principals have things that they bring and they like to discuss, and the police are very helpful, and the fire department. It's really, I think, a very productive group, and you know, a lot of good discussions get headed off as a result. Issues get headed off as a result of the discussions there.
It's a great communication tool.
Yeah.
All right. School building. Anything?
Not a lot to report. So we met Tuesday. I think probably the biggest item that came out of it is that we're going to have 2 separate meetings, one for the high school and one then for Pembroke, and they're both going to happen on the same day. And the high school meeting will start first at 7, And then that'll go for however long it goes, and then the Pembroke meeting will start on the heels of that. So that's the upcoming process for how those two projects are going to be handled, and that's really pretty much the extent of it. It was a nuts and bolts kind of meeting.
The
There's
architects
not a
did just
boatload
meet.
going
The
on,
architects
but
did just
that's-
meet
yeah,
again.
yeah, they're still moving.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
still moving along. There were 3 or 4 particular issues that were discussed, and the committee talked about, and the architect took away his notes, and still on schedule.
Yeah, and the architect did meet with staff at the school recently, like within the last week. So just to go over again, now they're really into the very specifics. It's good.
Great. Okay, moving right along to old business, the 2013-14
Calendar.
school calendar.
Okay, so I think Alana, thank you. Alana noticed a little bit of a discrepancy in something, so I think your latest and greatest is on your table. I think it was just a difference of something that was noted on the front and then something noted differently on the back, wasn't it? It was a.
It's just in the December days were contradictory, what was here on the
Yes,
side. So
yes,
Now
yes.
it's not there,
So-
and it's not contradictory.
So now it's not going, but thank you for noticing that. Sometimes when you look at something so often,
Yeah,
a little something
absolutely.
like that, you
Yeah.
just miss. Okay, so I did try in your orange notes to give you a little summary of the changes that were made, not to belabor the conversation for a long period of time. The administrative team and I, and Julie and I sat together for some time trying to address the couple of things that were brought up at the last meeting. So in the interest of not having a date in January, so close, remember we had January 21st, so close to the February 5th, we just decided in January to just not have the professional development day there, but we did put it up in September. So you'll notice September 25th was a half-day session. We're making that a full-day session, and the goal there would be to front-load the work we're doing with teacher evaluation.
The big thing that I didn't do a good job explaining this last time, but the reason why we're so focused on the teacher evaluation process is it's being rolled out this year.
Right.
It takes it's an unbelievable amount of work and a huge task for everyone to accomplish. So it really needs to be front loaded.
It
and
does.
I should have explained that better last time when we were talking
So-
about it.
so
Wouldn't
this'll
have
work.
affected what we did at Christmas, but that's why we're
Right.
focusing so much on getting this in here. And then the other issue that we have is we have a little bit more time from the teachers
That's right.
to be able to, through their contract negotiations, to be able to implement different district-wide initiatives that Carol needs to focus on that have to do with frameworks, Common Core standards,
There's a ton.
that just can't get done during the normal course of business. That's why it's more of an issue this year.
Yes. So the 25th in September is a full day now. Okay. So that
day off.
Full day, no school.
Right.
But it is a professional development day for staff. Now, let's see. So now if you look at January, there's just so now we're going to January and we'll look at we did decide the recommendations of everyone. I know Barbie did have some reservations about it, but I kind of got the sense from the rest of the committee, either there wasn't a strong feeling or people thought it was a good idea. And the administrative team feels it's a good idea because they're just looking at the productivity. And then I'm looking at it thinking, well, you don't have to open the schools and use the energy in the middle of the winter for 2 days either. So I think there's a lot of compelling reasons why it makes sense to do it. So we're recommending for your consideration the 2 weeks off and a no school day on December 23rd. We did consider, Alana, your suggestion on the 20th. Being a half day, but then we thought that might be pushing it because we're already doing two full weeks. So we thought it would be best to just have school end on the 20th for the holidays and not take your recommendation and not have December 23rd be a school day. The other thing that we looked extensively at, Julie and I, was the MCAS schedules and what the MCAS testing windows are, trying really hard to not put days right in front of that, or so basically we were hoping to get 5 to 6 additional days or hours, but we decided that in the interest of just trying to make something that makes educational sense, it's already going to be a change for families, And it does not make sense to have so many choppy weeks. You know, I don't want to interfere with MCAS and where the holidays fall this year. So we actually add 4 additional half-days distributed throughout the year. And Julie and I sat and really laid out like what could we use for district days, what do we need for specific professional development days, and that'll all be reflected when the professional development calendar comes before you, so you can see it.
So I just want to clarify this. So
Yes.
contractually,
Yes.
you have 6 professional development days total that you can require this stuff? Is
No, the teachers have a 184-day schedule.
Okay.
So there's a day before the first day for students.
Sure.
And oftentimes that's a day working in classrooms. It's not necessarily always a training day. We're going to make it a training day, working in coordination with the union. So that's one. And then you'll notice that there are 3 additional full day training days. Okay.
So that's
In addition to that, we're recommending 4 half days.
okay.
So what will happen is the students will be released,
Yeah.
and then the teachers will work an extra hour. That's how the 1 additional day.
Okay.
Instead of doing 1 additional day this
Okay.
particular year, because we need to spread the days out to do the work over the course of the year, as opposed to
Okay.
1 additional day maybe at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year. Our recommendation this year is to lay them out. So it ends up being an additional 24 hours,
Okay.
right, of
Okay.
work that we can do in the district, but
Okay.
it's only 4 half days
I see.
for
Okay.
the families.
Okay.
Okay?
Got it.
So those are really I think we addressed the things that you asked us to look at, and that's this is the recommended calendar that we're putting forward for your consideration.
Can I just ask, in June, I've got June 20th is starred, but then it says
Yes.
June 23rd is the projected last day of school. Is that intentional?
Yep, I don't know, let's see.
What day is the last day?
Is that an error, Laura?
Yeah,
That the 20th is
Yeah,
starred?
I think she's got the,
I just have to do the counting, but
And it might not be because
It should be it should be the 20th, because that would be 15 days, and you have 15 days for June. So it's got to be the 20th.
20th.
And the
So
fourth
the- so
quarter
the-
ends
so the
June
note is
19th.
wrong.
The note is wrong,
the
okay.
note is wrong, it should be
Yeah.
June 20th.
Okay.
So then that would mean that, let's see,
27th
June
would be
27th would be the,
Okay.
Yeah.
good catch, Pam.
Takes a committee.
It does take a committee. Well, you know, it's.
A lot of details.
Yeah, that's it, you know.
It is, I know.
I can tell, it's very
not
well
the big
thought
stuff,
out.
it's the little stuff,
There's a
you know?
lot to consider in this calendar.
A lot of information on one piece of paper.
It is. I give Laura credit
Well,
for
then
keeping
you're
it
like,
straight.
huh, yeah. Because it kind of becomes your roadmap for the year.
Yes, it does.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you, Paul.
All right, so we need to vote on this.
Yes.
So Chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2013-14 school calendar as revised.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. So next up is the superintendent's evaluation tool. Did you see my?
I did. I can help you with it.
Yeah.
So, well,
let me
go ahead and
I'll
ask
go-
the questions, and then I'll help you.
So one of the, so Laura distributed all this and said, please set up meetings with the superintendent. So one of the questions was, how did we get to this point? Like,
Yes.
how did we get to this process? So from my understanding, and Carol, jump in if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, we reviewed this with Mike Gilbert.
Are you looking at the actual?
The superintendent's evaluation form and kind of discussed MASC best practices and the way that they were doing evaluations. Came up with this evaluation tool, and it was part of your contract negotiations.
Yeah, my contract says that that I'm gonna evaluate it annually, as required by law, and that, the tool will be, developed mutually. There'll be an agreement as to what the tool looks like. So this tool was one of a number of tools that were looked at, I'm not sure, I don't think it came from MASC, but I think it came from a bunch of collections of evaluations that we did, we looked at.
I've just been at charting the course
Yes.
on Saturday.
Yeah.
It looks familiar.
Yeah.
It's certainly, and we spent a good deal of time talking about it.
Yes.
But they had a recommended protocol, which
Well, it's going to be completely different now, because we're gonna, as school committees, we're gonna have to do the same process that the teachers are doing.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I had done at Ann's request, I just have to follow back up with him, is I spoke with Mike Gilbert about doing, because remember when we were up in the Pearly
Teachers
room? He had handed that really nicely put together document on evaluating the superintendent. And he basically said that he does trainings. So Ann had asked me, so I contacted him and said, you know, Mike, could you come out and do something for the committee? My suggestion would be you don't try to do it at a school committee meeting, that you set up a work session, but we can all work together on it. And he said he'd be very willing to do that. It made sense to us, since we're going to have a new member who's going to need to use the process, that it didn't make sense to have him come and do it with, even though Ann would probably love to hear it, it doesn't make sense then to have to try to fill in the gaps for a new member after the fact. So we would need to talk to Mike about when he might be able to come. And then I think as a result of that, you know, I would develop SMART goals, which
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
language
That's
you
what
would
we talked about,
recognize,
yes,
right?
yes.
I would develop SMART goals, and then we would really go through and look at the rubric and the standards
Yes.
and talk about the process we would use for
I
setting
think what
goals.
confused me was, so we were talking about that new procedure, and the recommendation was that at the beginning of the school year, there's a meeting with the school committee and the superintendent
Right.
where you identify, so we don't evaluate you on all these different
That's
areas.
right.
You identify
That's right.
in conjunction with us, and I thought, did I miss that?
No,
I was
no,
sitting
no,
there
no.
thinking, like,
And-
wait,
and-
did
This is the last year of this process.
Okay.
And will that have to be, that new format will have to be negotiated with your,
It's the state,
it's,
I'm not
or
gonna
it doesn't matter,
all it says in my contract is that we have to agree mutually on the tool.
okay.
I mean, it's the state farm.
Right.
There's not much to
Okay.
negotiate. I'm fine with the process. We'll go forward
Right.
with that. But this was, you know, an attempt to have a tool,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then here's where I think Ian's remembering the Mike Gilbert piece. The discussion with the school committee was that on the suggestion of our attorneys and Mike, is that the committee should meet individually with the superintendent, with me, and then you would formulate your comments, right? And we would share, you know, our back and forth information individually, and then you would come to the meeting, and then Ann, or whoever's chairing, I guess it would be Ann, because she's here for one meeting, she would say, you know, under leadership, does anybody have any comments? And then basically you would share your comments. Laura's job is to take down like verbatim notes.
It gets read right into the record.
Into the
Okay.
record.
As
and then-
opposed to us submitting, because I think
As
in the
opposed to
future,
a
each committee members would be submitting a document that
This-
becomes public record.
Yeah, and this we don't submit. It's
Right.
your opportunity at the
Okay.
meeting to go through and say, you know, I think Carol did an excellent job in
Right.
blah blah blah. And
So I
these
don't
are
have to make it
examples.
pretty, it's just.
No,
it's just here.
and I think some members of the committee expressed some concern, because when you did it the other way and you handed everything to a designee of the committee, it could be the chair or someone else. It was the chair's discretion to determine like what comments made it into the final composite.
It was a big discussion
And
about
yeah,
that.
and you know, so this way it's like everybody just has the opportunity to say what
Right.
they want to say, and I've heard it all because we've chatted about
Exactly.
it, and then it goes into the record, and then it is a public record. The notes are a public record, and anybody who wants to know how that all comes together can get a copy of the.
Well, just
Summary
for the
notes.
record, for if, in the future, if what happens is each school committee member submits to whoever is going to,
Compile.
compile the final evaluation, the recommendation was the procedure was that you would take the comments that were, or the ratings that were, the majority had agreed to, and so if there was an outlier, the person whose comments were an outlier would still be available to the public. They're even if it didn't get compiled
Aggregated, right?
into the final evaluation, they would be able to stand up at a meeting like this and say, I didn't agree with that evaluation, and anybody who would like to see why my evaluation is public record.
Right,
So,
well, and they can say it at the meeting, that's the whole purpose of you know,
Absolutely.
of the process
And
that
that's
they were
one-
recommending we do.
And that's one of the reasons why we don't tally, because if we get, a couple fours and then a one, well, that one kind of gets, dilutes
Absolutely.
everyone else. But that one may be an important
Yes.
number for, some specific reason that a committee
Absolutely.
member has. That's why I don't like to aggregate.
Yeah.
And it's important that everyone just shares their
Absolutely.
And it's
comments.
and it's important that
Yeah.
person speaks directly with me, so I have an opportunity to have a
Hearing to-
discussion
what
with
did
them.
I miss here? I bet.
Right, yeah, no, that's,
No,
it's all changing.
it's all changing.
Okay, so does that answer your, so
Yes,
does that
I'm
make,
fine.
okay.
I'm fine now. Yes.
And then the school committee self-evaluation,
Oh, Laura wants us to vote that we're going to.
oh, I'm sorry, so we need to vote that,
It's to
we will
approve the-
continue to use the, superintendent's evaluation tool as presented, is that
to approve that.
what you're looking for, Laura?
But we only have to do page 2 once, and it's included in here twice, just for the.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, in case you change your mind, right?
Oh, yeah. Good
So-
point. So, oh, it was probably in an effort to save paper. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2012-2013 superintendent's evaluation tool as presented.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, this school committee self-evaluation tool, are there any questions on that? This is, the one thing that I think we are not going, we shouldn't evaluate are the, I saw it earlier, are the goals. Because we did not adopt goals this year.
Which one are you
Did we
talking
take it
about?
out?
Which one are you talking about, Ann?
Under school committee, usually we talk about,
I don't see it in here.
Number 8,
is that it? I'm trying to find.
yeah. Number 8, to help the committee clarify its mission and set committee goals.
Oh, that's.
Oh, that's the benefits
That's
of
the
it,
benefits.
yeah.
Oh.
the list of
Benefits, yeah.
benefits, but
Yep.
in terms of.
Yeah, okay, we don't have goals,
No.
so you don't need to evaluate to those, so if you're reading through this and say, what are the goals? Typically, we do those in governance at the beginning of the school year,
Okay,
and that was a miss this year.
okay.
Because what will happen is, once we go through the evaluation, it'll be clear what we missed on. So
Sure.
those will become the foundation for the goals next year, and
Yes.
governance
So
will
we
sit
will
down.
be setting goals next year.
Yes.
Will the whole process be different as the superintendent's process is gonna be different? Or,
We might
No.
want to set some joint goals.
Yeah,
you
it
know,
might be something that
We
you
might
wanna
wanna
talk
do that.
about.
Especially
Okay.
looking at the strategic plan,
Right.
what elements of that do we want to
Usually,
be
the
sure
strategic plan
is
kind
the
of,
goal. Yeah.
yeah, it's usually look at what we missed last year.
Yeah.
And then where are we in the strategic plan and what do we need to get accomplished?
I mean, sometimes, the one that stands out to me here is one year, it came out that there was some here about the new committee members, were oriented well or something. It's said differently. And because it was really not, everybody kind of agreed that it wasn't one of the highest scores. It drove the committee to look at it, and that's why Ann sits as a chair,
And
with
we-
new members, and it's not just charting the course. She sits and goes through it, and there's an actual process. So that sometimes when you look at how these things get aggregated, there are some things that you go, oh, we should do
Right.
better at that. And those are goals that you can set as a school committee
Sure.
based on the
Yeah,
data.
and it's helpful if you have, as you're going through this, if you say, oh, we don't do, I gave it a 2 because, or a, sorry, it goes the other way in this one, a 3, because I remember at this point we didn't do this, or I was confused when we did that, just so that as a committee we can do a better job setting goals for the next year. Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2012-13 school committee self-evaluation tool as presented.
Someone?
a second?
Any further, all those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, any further discussion, sorry.
You just so you know, on your table you asked about the dates,
Oh, right,
just so you know.
Okay, let's get this done
This
then.
is the dates, yeah.
okay.
Just didn't know if you
So
wanted
we have
to-
a motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, I was confused. And then we have the dates. So, so if you can get, the evaluation data back to me, what is this, by tomorrow?
Yeah, I think maybe we need to change this.
4/5? That
4/12.
was 5 days ago? Or
4/12 is
more?
tomorrow.
No, 6 days?
Yeah, so if you can, you know what, if I can get it by next Friday, I can compile it and email it out to everybody by the following Monday before the last meeting.
The form that Laura sent to us, we'll be able to fill it out online?
Yeah, probably not.
Send it to you, or
Probably not.
do you need
It's
me?
probably,
Can everyone scan and send? Is that a problem? If you scan and send, that's great.
okay. As we were so proud of our improvements in technology, here we face one that,
Yeah.
so you wanna change the date from the 12th to the 19th?
Yeah, if everyone gets it to me the 19th, I can compile it
Okay.
By the 19th.
by the 19th.
Okay, I don't have a scanner, so somehow I'll get it
You
to
can bring it to us and we can
Yes.
help you.
Okay,
Send it to, yeah, we'll help you.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or just call me and we can figure out a way for you
Do
to
you
get
have
it
a
to me.
fax?
Do you have a fax
No,
machine?
you, Ann.
Yes.
You. Can
Yeah.
I fax to you?
Yeah, you can fax to me. I don't
Okay.
know the number off the top of my
Okay,
head.
that's okay. I can, or I can scan it and email
Yeah.
it as an attachment.
Yeah,
That's
fax is
fine.
fine too.
I may just be able to.
Okay, all right, next up is mobile grant acceptance.
Yes, Margaret has included a little email message in here. This is not anonymous, right, Margaret?
It is not anonymous.
It is not anonymous, okay. So, Pearlie was nominated by a parent, Mr. Settlemeyer. He's district manager for mobile to receive a grant through Exxon Mobil. And we're very excited about the fact that there's a check for $500. And he wants the materials to be used to deal with math and science learning for Pearlie students. Again,
Wow.
another generous donation.
That's amazing.
Awesome. I see the
It's always
ads
fun.
on television
So
for
thanks to
Exxon
Mr. Settlemeyer and Exxon Mobil.
education
And it's always
grants.
nice
That's
when
great.
parents and friends think of the schools when they see things like this, and they're able to fill that out. So thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to to accept the donation from Exxon Mobil as presented with gratitude.
So moved.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Again, thank you. It's amazing. I don't think we've had a meeting that we haven't had some kind of donation to
Donations
accept.
every meeting.
So we're always, thankful for their generosity. And especially even monetary is great, but the time and resources that people provide to us is also equally amazing. Okay, school choice discussion.
Well, no, last day of school.
Oh, sorry, last day of school. So as a school committee, we have to vote on the last day of school and knock
There
on
will be
wood.
no more snow days.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Do you want to rethink that?
I'm so confident there's no
Okay.
more snow
We had
days.
30 inches in the Midwest.
I know.
And some places they're supposed to get snow tomorrow, but not Georgetown, thankfully.
All right, you heard it here first.
I heard it. Nobody should plan on a snow day tomorrow.
All right, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve the last day of school as June 26th.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, school choice discussion.
School choice discussion. So I apologize, there's nothing in the orange
Yeah.
notes about this because Laura reminded me that we're getting phone calls daily regarding requests for school choice and when are decisions going to be made. So this is the time of year we do discuss it. And we kind of make two decisions. One is if we choose not to be a school district that accepts school choice, then we need to notify the state of that change. And then secondly, if we're going to open slots, we need to determine what amount of slots at what grades. So in the past, what we've done is we have decided to stay a school choice district, even in years where we haven't been able to open any slots. And I would advise the committee to continue to do that. In terms of available slots, I've polled the administrators, and we've obviously looked at some information. So just on your table, the actual class sizes for elementary, you can see here that at this point in time, kindergarten is still something we're just not complete. Margaret's doing the kindergarten registration soon, right? Like this next week, the week after?
Well, the kindergarten registration is actually a rolling process.
Okay.
So we don't have a deadline.
Okay.
So these numbers are based on.
Your table?
No.
No?
No, just you.
Sorry. No. Wait, you will.
Sorry, Margaret.
Sorry,
No,
Margaret.
we don't have that.
Okay, so I'm going to pass it to you.
It's
Okay.
different. I'm sorry.
It's different. Go ahead, Margaret, I'm sorry.
So when I'm looking ahead to next year, it's a projection. So I'm looking at numbers of children coming from our pre-K, which at this point is 64. Then I'm looking at private pre-K, which at this point is 28. And then looking at the past, how many children move in.
Right.
And last year it was 7, including school choice. So again, I'm projecting 99 to 100 students next year.
Mm-hmm.
So, which would mean classes of 20.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So at this point in time, you know, if you look at those numbers, we've been trying to stay within, kindergarten, 20 or less, but, 1, 2, and, usually 3, in the 22 to 23 range is kind of optimal. And then beyond that, we've said 25, even though we don't consider that to be an optimal number. But that's kind of what the guidelines have been in the district in the past. So when we see numbers that are close to that already, we don't know who's going to move in over the course of the next several months into next year. So at this point in time, we are not recommending opening any elementary slots. Again, with the exception of maybe looking at the kindergarten, because we're not absolutely positive. In terms of the middle school, again, we're not recommending additional spots at the middle school. Now, Peter, do you want to come up for a minute, Peter? So, this is the discussion we have often, is looking at the middle high school and trying to determine whether or not, that's probably my notes, whether or not we have slots that we might open. And Peter's conversation with me is that he thought perhaps 5 slots at the 9th grade was conservative. You actually think you could take more. So I asked Peter a few questions in preparation just so he could answer questions back and forth with you, because this is the only place we are considering requesting approval to take children. So Peter, you were going to get a little bit of information, so is there something maybe you could inform the committee about in terms of average class, or not average classes, but your enrollment per grade?
Yep. So we are projecting for next year 113 12th graders, 98 11th graders, 100 10th graders, and there's currently 126 students in the 8th grade right now. 14 of them were accepted to Whittier Tech. Our best estimates are 7 will probably actually attend. 2 people will be attending Essex Aggie, and there are 24 applied to private schools. I would conservatively say that probably 12 of them will go. Hard to say how many kids might move in over the summer, but some do. So I would think that if we took 5 choice students in, we still would be, under 120, probably around 115 in the 9th grade, which we should be able to handle.
What do you think? I'm sorry. What was the number for moving in? Did you think?
It's hard to say. 2 or 3.
Okay.
3. How many
How did-
school, oh, I'm sorry, Brad, go
Just
ahead.
clarification on this chart.
Yes, go ahead.
So how do the numbers
Back of that.
just then relate to this?
If you take grade 8
Yeah,
in
Slide it
October
down.
12,
yep,
they're going to be the freshmen next year.
yep.
So he's saying that about 20 of those will go to Whittier, Essex Aggie, and other schools. So that gets you down to 108, roundly.
Okay.
So add 3 that could move in over the summer. You're at 111. And if you say that if he's he's recommending 5 choice spots, and you're at 118. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
I should tell you that 5 choice students are
Yeah,
graduating.
that's what I was gonna ask you.
Okay. So we're looking
So at least we would maintain if you didn't
Right.
take any choice students
So
anywhere
of the
else.
98 in your senior class this year, 5 are
Yes,
choice.
yep. We could take some in the sophomore class too. Could probably take 5 in the sophomore class. We don't recommend taking choice students after the 10th grade.
Next year's sophomore class or this? Yeah, so this year's freshman.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the size of this year's 5th grade class. That's that big class.
It's the crazy class.
That, and
This
that's-
year's 5th?
Oh, I'm sorry, not 5th.
7th?
7th.
Seventh.
Yep.
No,
The 151.
So this is my ignorance of the middle high school.
12 sets of twins.
And triplets in there somewhere.
No, triplets moved.
Oh, triplets moved, okay.
Sorry.
Just spin my head a little bit. Thank you. And triplets in the district, though.
Yeah.
The middle school and the high school, in terms of the amount of space that they occupy, is it completely separate? Because I'm looking at
Not
this
anymore.
this 5th grade class is 131 students.
Oh,
That's
okay,
moving into
that's-
6th grade, right? That big bubbly class is moving from Pembroke. Am I correct? Am I
Yes,
reading this
you're right.
correct?
Yep.
I don't
Yeah.
have that
131.
number.
Yeah,
What is it?
We
It's
think, when we think of the
131.
big bubbly class, we look at the 151.
151.
Yeah,
Yeah,
grade
yes,
seven.
The second big bubbly
Oh,
class.
yeah.
The second big bubbly
Yeah.
class is moving also to from Pembroke to the middle high school.
Correct.
So that, I'm just thinking in terms of what's that doing to space
To have 2, it's
Well-
a good point to have 2 of the big classes.
going through those.
Well, interestingly, if you look at it, the grade 8 is 128 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's kind of similar
it's
to the
it's similar to the 131. So in the and you know what, I'll back up for a second. Middle school is 6th, 7th, and 8th,
Right.
and they're on the top. Not completely,
Academic.
but academically.
Yeah,
they're-
they are academically, but there are high school classes up there now.
So
In extra rooms.
So I'm just saying, so the total number of kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 21 more kids than are currently in the 6th grade next year.
right, but you're moving out the grade 8 at 128 is being replaced
By 131.
by 131.
By 3. I see.
Does that make sense?
The up-to-date numbers as of today are 6. Did I go through that? 6th
Nope.
grade's 111. Current. 7th grade is 149. 8th grade is 126. 9th grade's 198, 113, and the senior class is 99.
Okay.
So,
I,
oh, go ahead, Peter, I'm sorry.
I understand your point. But if you look at the class sizes in the high school, the average academic class size is 16. So if
Okay.
you're gonna add 5 or 10 kids to that mix, it's not even, it's barely gonna touch the class size. So
I
there
see.
are actually, there's rooms in the classroom, but there aren't enough classrooms.
There's desks,
It's
but there
high-
aren't enough
It's,
places to put there's not enough rooms to hold the desk.
When
there's
people
not
talk
enough rooms for all of the teachers
to have their own room.
to have their own room. But there's room
in the classroom.
For more kids. I get
For
it.
more
I
kids.
get what you're saying. Okay.
And it's confusing because
is.
we're always
It is.
talking
And
about space
decreasing-
constraints.
And
Well,
decreasing
I
the
also
number of
just think-
students won't change.
I mean, a
that.
building has a certain capacity, and so I don't know. You know, what's it like in the hallways as students are trying to go from one class to the next? Is there so much congestion? Is it?
I wish I knew the number of the total students, but it might even have been 600 or something 10 years ago, and I can honestly tell you that I can't notice a difference between then and now. It's just,
I never have a sense that there's congestion. Well, Cole, is there congestion in the hallways?
I mean, honestly, when walking through the halls, I have to say it's really not that bad. People are at their lockers, and that's probably takes up the most space. Other than that, everyone's just moving. I don't find myself just standing still waiting for people to move ever. So.
Or elbowing your way through to get to class on time, or I just was wondering. Again, I said that's my ignorance. I haven't been in the high school.
No,
Yeah,
it's
a
a
good
very
question.
valid point.
And it's something we go through, I mean, that is important for everyone to think about.
But not having enough classrooms. I mean, so we're not talking about classroom size. If you need to have a certain number of classes, and you can't really have two classes going simultaneously in one large room, so
Yeah,
it's a problem.
Hence the reason
There's
why
not
we use
enough
the
classrooms.
stage for
Yeah.
the music classes.
So the other little element, the little wrinkle, if you turn the paper over, is, okay, so how does this impact our standing with the actual choice account? So I think we presented this as part of the budget to you. So, if we assume we get $5,000 per student that comes in, if we take 5 students, or we take 10 students, that helps obviously to afford to have some of these things on this grant. I mean, obviously our goal is still to continue to move things off, because we don't want this grant in particular, or this revolving account in particular, to be funding recurring expenses.
So, Peter, you're recommending 5?
9th and 5/10. He said he could take 5/10. That's what, but he said nothing beyond 10.
Oh, so you did recommend 5 more in this year's freshmen for next year's?
I could
Yeah.
take them easily, yes. But again, we don't like, because of our curriculum and our graduation requirements, we don't recommend taking kids in the junior year.
Oh,
Then they don't have enough time to
But
really
would you be
take
comfortable taking 8
Yeah,
on.
freshmen.
8 what? I'm sorry.
freshmen? 8
Yep.
freshmen? It's, the financial impact is complicated because we spend money on
But
it.
we need,
How does that?
We get money, but we spend money, so it's not just it's not a money necessarily.
Well, the goal of doing it isn't making money.
No.
yeah, I was going to say,
Well,
we
I
have
mean,
to
the
stay
end
way away
effect-
from that.
The end effect isn't making money.
No.
That's
no.
why the
No,
goal
I mean,
isn't-
if you look at the
Isn't
per
it-
pupil expenditures.
It's a funding trap.
So aren't we trying to get away from this
That's,
potentially?
yes.
Get away from what, Rob? I'm sorry.
From school choice per se?
Oh, I don't think we're wanting to get away from school choice as an opportunity, because there are
other
a lot of benefits to
right.
school choice. What we don't ever want to do is compromise the educational program for the kids in Georgetown, for whom their parents pay taxes and have moved to this town for good reason. But there are advantages to school choice as well if there's space available. So what we're trying to get away from, I think, is over-relying on the school choice revolving account to fund recurring expenses.
Like these 3 teachers, I mean, to avoid the funding trap, you wouldn't have any teachers on here.
Right.
And you would do things like Peter was looking for computers
Yeah,
this
major
year.
technology upgrades and
You'd do that. You'd,
curriculum, new curriculum, because he's got, classes that are coming in. That's what you'd
that's what you
arguably
would,
do
that's
with
what you
that
do
money.
for it. You wouldn't
This is
continually
not what we
fund
do. So that's, I think, Rob,
$145,000.
when we say we want to try to get away from, that's what it is, that we want to get away from recurring expenses.
The other thing is, to your point, you don't want to say, yeah, I can take, 10 kids a year.
Right.
Because that way we can build the pool at Pembroke. That I've been dying for.
But
I'm
doesn't
just,
work- it doesn't work that way.
planning
Yeah.
to build a pool in
No.
Pembroke.
no, but it doesn't. But
Can we have a rink too?
yeah. So how many kids can? No.
Peter will coach hockey.
So I think that's
There's
the point. The point is like
Yeah.
to and in the past, what we've always done is we've looked at average class sizes by grade and then determined how many spaces we have available. So we don't need to vote on this week.
You don't need to, but I'm telling you, we do need to vote next time, because
But maybe
number one,
we-
I'm gonna hit the May 1st deadline.
We need,
If we're not gonna become a school
but I
choice
think
district.
I think maybe what we do is we lay this out for everybody to look at and understand the class sizes. You know, what we're gonna look at next year, like, it,
Helpful.
yeah, so you can see like grade 9 is, I mean, I have it in chicken scratch, but just so the committee can see it.
What is it you need, I'm sorry.
Well,
What
like,
more?
next year, grade 9 is gonna be,
The full projection for
yeah, just your estimate
next
of
year.
what you think, and then
With
do a
Peter's
column with
numbers.
all the way
With
through,
Peter's
just
numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just another column added
Yeah.
to that.
Can't read my
And as a
notes.
projection, obviously, it can't be in
Right.
actual.
just an idea.
Right.
So you only think you're gonna lose 12 to other, you think 24 were accepted to other schools, other than,
I think we're gonna
You said,
lose
he
more
said
than that.
applied, yeah.
So I'm being conservative to say half.
when do they have to let you know? Just, I'm not saying that.
Fortunately,
ever have to let us know.
unfortunately, exactly.
Okay,
So we chase them for the most part,
okay,
and sometimes we don't know until September.
okay, all right.
Well, just curious, why don't they, where would a mechanism be to have them tell the
Well, I think we send them a letter, and so sometimes they don't respond. Some parents are very good about it and tell us, and sometimes people don't tell us. So
I think there's probably reasons. I mean,
Sure.
listen to many families argue.
Yeah.
You're going to Littleton. I go, I'm going to.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
a fight
I-
that goes on all
Yeah.
summer, and
Yeah.
whoever wins. You know?
I think
That's
it's
true.
much
That's a
bigger
good
than
point.
than
Yeah.
making a purposeful decision not to let you know. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to gather a little bit more
Yeah.
information, given what we're talking about here, certainly we put it on for a vote for the 25th, that's
Yeah.
fine.
That would help me.
Yeah, because my concern would be if 24, if we can add more based on what happened in last year's class, then we should think about that.
Right.
And I'd hate to miss that opportunity.
last year was an aberration, though, statistically from
Yeah,
what
What
the
happened?
trend.
What was it? What is?
We had about, was it 17%?
17%, 32. I'm just looking
It was
here.
more
It's
than
like
30 kids
36.
went to private school.
Wow.
And normally it's about
31,
7 or 8%.
33.
Oh. Wow.
So last year was,
And I think there was actually some contact made with each of those families just to get a little more information as to,
I was just
you
gonna
know,
say,
why,
did
and
anybody find out
I
what
think
was
we
going
gleaned
on?
Yeah,
some
we did a
information
survey.
from that, which was, I think, helpful, and,
Good.
I think we can't start talking to kids in the middle school soon enough about the kinds of offerings and opportunities, and kids like Cole and others sell it better than Peter or I or anybody ever will. So I think it is important. When I look at kids like Cole and others, that I meet every day, what they're getting out of Georgetown High School, in terms of not only the academics but just the opportunities to participate in clubs and activities. And Cole could show you his resume and you'd be exhausted just looking at all the things he does. But the fact that he's afforded the opportunity here is great. And sometimes I think young kids don't know. It's like, oh, I'm going to St. John's Prep because my friend went there. Well, maybe that's the best alternative for them. But if it's because they really don't know what the opportunities are here and they don't have enough engagement with high school kids that can really show
Or
them,
their parents?
or their parent, or even outreach to their parents for sure.
I know next year they're planning on doing a club fair, maybe at the freshman orientation. Just, get kids to join clubs and to know exactly what we offer, because I know some kids really don't.
No.
They have no idea what's going on other than they see the boards and they really don't even know what
The
it's
only thing I
about.
would recommend
That's a great
is to
idea.
do it in 8th grade.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. The
Because
early,
that's
you can't
when
be- you can't
that's
do
when
it
it
early enough.
that's when it all starts.
Yeah, I mean, I know I personally would love to even just give a presentation on, what I've done. And I know other kids who've been successful in the Georgetown school system would be very willing to do something like that. To the
this
eighth
year's
graders,
I think
yeah.
That's a fabulous idea.
Yeah.
At
Because
the beginning of
It's
the year.
their school.
Yeah.
They're the ones that
Yeah.
they've taken advantage of the opportunities, and
Mm.
it's great to have them engaging younger kids. Okay, so we'll
Yeah,
get you some
so
more
we can
information.
get that.
Okay,
That was
thank
it.
you, Peter.
Peter, thank
Appreciate
you.
having everything ready.
All right. So moving right along, we are going to have an executive session. So we'll adjourn. I just have a couple of dates that I think I should let everyone know about. First, Election Day, April 30th. Remember, I think the last day to register was earlier this week. Secondly, town meeting is Monday, May 6th at the Georgetown Middle High School at 7 o'clock. So even though we have Election Day,
That's a little confusing, with an election day is coming before town meeting.
but
Yes,
you
so
need to go to town meeting.
unusual.
Yes.
Everyone needs to
Yes.
attend. And
Yes.
also, May 24th is the High School Art Show and Film Festival from 6 to 8 p.m. Tickets are not required, and at the next meeting, we'll give more information.
Yes. Laura, when's the PTA fashion show?
May 2nd?
It's
it?
coming up, that's what.
Okay,
you know.
PTA Fashion Show, we'll
I want to go to that.
probably look on the school website. We might have the information.
Yeah, so we'll send you the
It's at
date.
the Hilton Ferncroft, and it's going to be
Doubletree?
$20.
Doubletree.
Doubletree?
Ferncroft.
Okay.
Is that in Danvers? Or
Danvers,
Yes.
it's the old Cocoa
Yeah.
Keys.
Old
Yeah.
Cook, yeah.
Okay, I know
Yeah.
exactly where that is.
Yes.
Tickets are $20 a piece, and I'm
They're
not really
using,
sure how to get them
I
yet,
think
but
90 to 100 of our kids and some of our grown-ups are also in the show,
it's
so
always very exciting.
Right.
Yep.
it'll be fun.
Important
We'll get
to
the date out to
know
Yes,
what
we
the
at our
latest
next
fashion
meeting.
trends are.
All right, so we will. We're going to adjourn from regular session, go into executive session, and we will not be returning.
And could you
And
say
the-
including Down Street?
Yep.
Make sure we say that.
And the part we are going into for chapter 30A, paragraph 20, section 21, paragraph 3 for the purposes of negotiation strategy. And we have a special education discussion for which Donna Straight's going to stay with us. And it's roll call.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Thanks.
All right.
Good night, Cole.
Good night,
See
Cole.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Of course.